We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, will you please stand at this time as we are led in prayer by Minister Gloria Terry. Immediately following our prayer, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Samples.
Proverbs 16 and 11:12 reads, "Honest scales and balances belong to the Lord. All the weights in the bag are of his making. Kings detest wrongdoing, for a throne is established through righteousness." Father in heaven, we become before your holy throne this evening and thank you for this city council meeting and for the government leaders and people who deeply care about the city of Akron. May each person tonight, dear Father, still themselves before you first, a holy and righteous King who is filled with justice and divine wisdom, and the one who has ultimate authority throughout the earth and universe and the billions of galaxies beyond. Please help each person, dear Father, to listen deeply to one another with respect and honor, as if they were respecting and honoring you, for each person is made in your image. Help each leader to fully value and appreciate the contributions of others in this meeting, even if they may not agree with one another. Let those in this meeting not just be concerned with their personal agendas, but let each person, dear Father, work together as a team to make decisions and policies for the effective running of the city of Akron, to manage the budget well and effectively meet the real needs of the people within the city. Working together effectively as a team, dear Lord, is crucial for the success of this city amid much unrest, the breakdown of families, environment issues, drug abuse, sexual abuse, gun violence, and shootings within the city, which affects us all, and especially the children who are our next generation. May your light and love, dear Father, enfold each person with divine wisdom and peace, and may your precious Holy Spirit guide us all, that you might be glorified in the work, and the city of Akron might prosper, even as its people and families prosper and are strengthened in hope. Amen.
Amen.
Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Minutes from June 17, 2019. Council convened in regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville in the chair. All members were present. Minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved. Neal abstained. Reading of petitions and communications. Passage of the consent agenda. Report of standing and special committees. Passage and referral of new ordinances and resolutions, representation from various departments and divisions, public speaking period, no further business on a motion by Fusco. Council adjourned at 7:59 p.m. to reconvene a regular session on June 24, 2019, or special call.
Any corrections or additions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it and one abstention.
Okay.
Letters, petitions, and communications.
Petition of Chapel Hill Mall Realty Holdings, LLC for a conditional use to lease space to North Coast Auto Mall at 2000 Britton Road.
File.
3 objections to the street cleaning and street lighting for Resolution 154, 2019.
File.
Correspondence from Susan Strauss regarding property at 211 South Frank Boulevard.
File.
Notice of transfer of D5 liquor permit to Contemporary Culinary LLC at 796 East Market Street.
Special attention, Councilman Milkovich.
Return showing the service of arterial collector resurfacing program for Resolution 62, 2019.
File.
Return showing service of the Downtown Akron Special Improvement District per Resolution 132, 2019.
File.
Return showing service of unimproved street resurfacing program per Resolution 62, 2019.
File.
Return showing service of residential resurfacing program per Resolution 64, 2019.
File.
Summary of the income tax receipts through the end of May 2019.
File. Before you, you have the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
We will now move into our old business rules. Councilman Keith,
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like time, please.
time will be granted. Planning, Councilman Fusco,
Committees for time on the agenda.
time will be granted. Public Service, Councilman Keith,
Thank you, Madam President. Item number 1 may be filed.
item number 1 will be filed. We'll now move into our new legislation.
Okay. Item number 1, offered by Freeman, ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance or her designee to pay $15,000 for an, wait a minute, I'm reading this wrong one, sorry. Little distracted. Item number 1, resolution approving and confirming the reappointments of Mayor Horrigan and Brant T. Lee and Nanette Pitt as a member of the Akron Civil Rights Commission and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith,
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we are requesting suspension of the rules.
any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. We're so fortunate to have the reenactment of the Akron Civil Rights Commission, and these two people that have been named on this resolution have done a wonderful job. So with that, we see no reason to hold this up.
The committee's report is favorable. The rules have already been suspended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 2, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing conditional use to retain an overheight playhouse structure at 2169 Daniels Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
For
this item will be referred.
item number 3, ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a child daycare business center at 1232 Honado Avenue.
Councilman Fusco,
For
this item will be referred.
item number 4, ordinance authorizing conditional use to construct a hospice home center at 475 North Howard Street and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
For
this item will be referred.
item number 5, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing conditional use to construct an oversized accessory use structure hoop house at 240 East Talmadge Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
For
this item will be referred.
item number 6, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish an adult daycare business center at 450 White Pond Drive and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
For
this item will be referred.
item number 7, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing conditional use to construct a commercial storage garage at 326 Power Street and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
For
this item will also be referred.
Item number 8, offered by Samples, ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service or his designee after publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts for construction of a hazardous spill containment system at Lake Rockwell and declaring emergency.
Councilwoman Samples.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this item placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number 9, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent or her designee without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts to purchase a mass spectrometer associated accessories from Allegiant Technologies for the use of the Akron Police Department and declaring emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you. Committee's report is to place this item on consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 10, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with Stalker Radar for the purchase of 7 antenna radar units and related parts for use by the Akron Police Department and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. Basically, this is to replace radar units in our traffic division vehicles. These radar units will be used for speed enforcement in our neighborhoods and our highways, and we're asking for passage. Thanks.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amovian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
We will now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to council during this time, you may approach the podium. We're going to ask that you please sign in, state your full name, and give us your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to speak during our public comment period?
I heard your timer was broken. My name is Bridget Saz. I live at 89 Linwood Avenue here in Akron. I've been a resident since 2006. The city of Akron
That's better.
The city of Akron installed a Wilbeth wetlands project bordering my backyard, as well as several of my neighbors. That area used to have an above-ground spillway. It used to be treed and was dry land. This is the area today. This is the back of my house. We've been flooding annually since the installation of this project. We would like to see the above-ground spillway reinstalled ideally. However, we are in contact with Chris Little at the city department quite frequently to just keep lines of communication open and let them know what we're experiencing. The city crews have to come out and help clean up from the flood. The city crews come out and help us remove waste and debris from the flooding. My property is 6 to 9 months underwater, so the encroachment is almost constant. I have a 2-car garage I cannot use, and I just purchased a new vehicle last year, so I cannot protect my investment. So I'm hopeful that you will support the city and their plans to help mitigate the risks forthcoming. But again, long term, we would like to see reinstallation of the above ground spillway. We feel the engineer who designed this project grossly underestimated the volume of water that we're experiencing. There are 3 homes under immediate threat constantly, and the remainder of our neighborhood is suffering as well. On Hackberry, if you go up and down the street, Hackberry, anytime during the summer, especially during large periods of dry spells with no rain, you will see that many of the residences constantly have their sump pumps running, spilling water into the street, so it's never dry anymore. And that's been the case now since the installation of this. So there's a lot of people suffering in the area, and we hope for your support for future moves.
Richard, thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
I'm sure after the meeting, your council person will be speaking with you, okay?
Mr. Kamer, thank
Yep.
you. I'm 11 seconds over.
My name is Roxanne Nome. I live at 1928 6th Street, Carter Falls. My husband has been speaking to you for the last 20 months about the loss of retiree spouses' health insurance. In the summer of 2009, the city announced that it was in financial distress and urged employees with 30 years of service to retire. While early retirement had not been in our plans, the city's financial problems as well as the upcoming end of the Akron Health Department persuaded us to accept the retirement offer. We were surprised but pleased that we were able to live comfortably but not extravagantly on his pension. In 2016, the city said they felt retired employees should be paying the same amount as active employees. At $60 a month for families, it seemed like a reasonable request. When we attended insurance information that fall, we were shocked to find out that the city had slipped in the requirement that spouses have OPERS coverage, which at the time was over $900 a month. Since it was on a Monday, we drove directly to the council meeting where my husband voiced his concern. The following day, Wendy Weaver told him that the city had decided to hold off on the OPERS requirement for 2017, but we were told not to count on it the following year. When my husband stopped in several times to ask about the plan in 2018, he was told he would be getting a letter. In fall 2017, the city announced that the OPERS coverage would be required for 2018, which had risen to nearly $1,200 a month, so we returned to council. The OPERS requirement has required us to seek insurance elsewhere, so my insurance cost, which had been $360 in 2017, was $4,000 in 2018, with a $7,300 deductible. The cost was financially devastating to us, as it had been to the other retirees with spouses under 65. I'm making the same request now that my husband has made since the fall 2017. Address the retiree spouse insurance crisis, review the city health insurance program, and determine what is reasonable cost to both the city and its retired employees and their families without the OPERS requirement for spouses.
Thank you, Mrs. Nome, for sharing.
My name is Steve Nome, 1928 6th Street, Cuyahoga Falls. I'm here again to ask council to take an active role in dealing with the retiree spouse insurance crisis. I spoke to a retiree recently who told me he spent $25,000 on insurance for his wife since the city abruptly dropped affordable spouse insurance coverage. Whether a retiree took spousal OPERS coverage like he did or opted for the less expensive but still costly inadequate coverage I obtained for my wife, which really only provides help in catastrophic health crisis. We've all seen our finances devastated by the city's ill-conceived plan to save money. Now, I've been told that some of the council members here despise me and are annoyed when I make my presentation. It reminded me of a work experience I had in 1982, shortly after I returned to work following serious injuries from an auto accident. As a means to motivate employees, comp time was being given as a reward for being productive. Unfortunately, comp time was being doled out to employees who weren't doing a particularly good job. I ended up going to the health director and voicing my concerns. The comp time incentive program ended shortly afterward. To say that the people who had been milking the system were annoyed with me would be an understatement. So I've been in unpopular positions before, but when something's not right, it's the duty of every citizen, councilperson, city employee to work to make it right. In the case of the retiree insurance benefits, the city has been accused of acting less than honest, in bad faith, while making arbitrary unilateral changes not in accordance with the Blue Ribbon Task Force finding. So I say council has two choices: investigate and determine whether the city's actions were appropriate, or do nothing. When the public is shocked about inappropriate behavior from school, government, or other officials and celebrities, the public is baffled why the behavior was allowed to go on so long and wonders why someone didn't speak up. Cover-ups are all too common, but I'm reminded of the words of Edmund Brooke, who said, "All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." So again, I'm asking you, address the retiree spouse insurance crisis now. Perform an unbiased review of the city health insurance program as a whole now. Determine what is a reasonable cost to both the city and its participants, both active and retired employees and their families, without the OPERS requirement. And it's my belief that doing that really does not conflict at all with these lawsuits. I know that's been brought up as a reason. I said I do not see, and if somebody could explain to me how they conflict, I do not see that. You can investigate it, see if maybe find out that you're 100% right, or find out you're 100% wrong and make changes to make it right. But do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noem. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Good evening, Council. My name is Harrington Hargrove, and I'm before this body in reference to economic development and the black community. I'm asking this body to formulate a plan that could help uplift our community. I've asked this council to formulate a plan that would include our community. And the love of Ward 3 is what brings me here when I come, for the fact that we've been denied, redlined, and discriminated against when it comes to economic development. And all this body has to do is allocate some funding, work with a bank, because, like I asked you before, Huntington said they would be willing to commit dollars in reference to upbuild this community. So council knows the presidents of the bank. Why can't they bring them into a plan that would include us and let the banks know that the council was committed to this project? And with that in mind, I believe that the Huntington would do something. And like I've asked, with Vernon Sykes from the State House, have a round table with him. He came out of Ward 3 as our council person. I'm quite sure he could probably help this situation. And I come before this body not just for myself. I'm talking about 9 jobs. In the black community and black family, that might be 5 people. So 9 times 5, that's 45 people that could benefit from my project. And it wouldn't break the bank from the city. Matter of fact, when I was coming up, you go to the community, you see minority black people behind the counter, you would dream one day I could have my business. But in Ward 3, we don't have a lot of dreaming for the community. So all I'm asking is formulate a plan that would include us. The state would come in, and the federal government. It's an opportunity in our community in Ward 3, because we're Hub Zone 1, the federal government has set aside money for business that locate in that area. So not only will we do business with our community, but then the government, the federal government, they have set aside money. So if you have your business in our community, if you're doing T-shirts, you're selling shoes, socks,
the government has set aside money for those things, so we can really grow. And even though we have been denied with this, if the city would work with the banks, then Ward 3 could prosper. So that's all I'm asking. It's not asking a lot, a portion. And we need the city to have leadership and go talk to the banks. Call Mr. Sykes and see what he can do. And I believe that our community will prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove. Anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period? Seeing and hearing none, we will close our comment period and move into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilwoman Keith. Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Planning, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilman Keith. Public Utilities, Councilman Samples. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal. Housing, Councilman Kilby. Health and Social Services, Councilman Amobian. Economic Development, Councilwoman Sims. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky.
12:30.
Is there anything else coming before council?
Motion to adjourn.
Seeing no objections, we are adjourned.